Good day, everyone. Unfortunately, I won't be able to meet with you in real time today as we are busy preparing for our Christmas party. So, party sa ami and that's why dili ko ka-meet ninyo in real time. So, to ensure we still cover what needs to be addressed, I've prepared this recording para inyo ha. Tunan, I hope you'll take the time to listen carefully and understand the content because embedded within this video are questions that you'll need to answer via a Google form. So please be attentive and submit your responses promptly. It will serve as your attendance and inyuha na sang oral participation para naamoy score. The deadline of this footage will be until 4:30 p.m. So, ika 4:30 ako na i-close ang Google Form. Ang dili ka submit, therefore, walay attendance o walay participation. Okay? Right, let's start. Last meeting we had an activity katong put your finger down. And the situations there are relevant to the topic na ato ang nasugdan last meeting. Last meeting, we were able to establish the definition or the concepts of exile culture and diasporic culture. Okay, so what you're seeing right now on your screen, mao ni atong pangutana last time na atong natubag with the question, are refugees exiled? Sila kay ma-consider nga diaspora or diasporic. They are not considered exiled because again, exiled it is done or exiled people are forced people nga mo depart to vanish or to leave their own homeland due to political, social or kuan personal reasons na ay external force nga maoy hinungdan nga mubiya sila. It is imposed by the government or the authority. Okay? You are exiled people are sent away or banished sa ilahang balay, sa ilahang kagalingon nga country. Ang mga refugees, there is no external force. Wala sila pugos, wala sila kuan og maayo, gidot og maayo sa government na need mo muhawa anhi. It's because refugees are voluntary departure. So ilaharang kagustuhan, ilahang will ang gaingon sila to leave their home. Okay? These are people who have been forced to flee their country due to war, violence, persecution, or other dangers. The same goes sa mga OFW. Diaspora gihapon siya. Dili siya makonsider exile. Kay wala man siya gipugos siyang bana, wala siya gipugos siyang anak, wala siya gipugos sa government, siyang silingan, or so on and so forth. Walay external force nga nagpugos niya nga muhawa sa iyahang country. But instead, it is an internal force. Iyahang kagalingong motive, iyahang passion, iyahang willingness, ang hinungdan nganong nihawa siya. Okay? The same goes with the refugees. Refugees seek refuge in another country because their own country is no longer safe. If hostile na gani ang environment, then it is their own will na to initiate nga mo pahawa sa ilahang country para mo improve or save ang ilahang situation. Okay? I hope na klaro unsa ang kalainan ni exile o ni diaspora. If that is the case, nga naay tawo nga mobiya, naay tawo nga mobalhin og usa ka lugar, then therefore naa jud nay concerns with regards sa atoang culture. Naay concerns with the matter of how we live, labi na if nga nata sa bag-o nga environment. Sa exile, naapod kay naa lahi siya sa diaspora in a sense na exile culture, it is when exiled people are forced to adapt, napugos sila og adapt sa culture anang lugar because if dili sila mo adapt as quickly as possible, then dili sila ka-survive. Unlike sa diaspora or diasporic culture, you have the freedom, you are, kuan ba, wala kayong nakalitan, you have the flexibility to manage or to adopt or to absorb certain part of the culture anang imuhang bag-ong environment while at the same time imong gi-maintain ang imuhang own nga cultural identity. Okay? Sa exile culture, mapugos ka. Still, mapugos ka. Nga, as quickly as possible, you need to adapt, you need to learn in order for you to deal and to survive the new environment. While sa diaspora, na kay freedom, it's flexible. You are not being forced na dapat makatun ka o makabaw ka na daan. Kay if dili, di ka survive. So lahi si exile of diaspora. Okay? Let's move on. Last time we also talked about multiculturalism and uniculturalism. So let's start with multiculturalism. Si cultural relativism o multiculturalism kay mag same na sila og concept but they are not entirely the same. These concepts both nag-promote sila og respect for cultural diversity. Lain-lain man ta og culture at lain-lain ta og gigikan. But nag-focus sila in a different aspect. So cultural relativism, as I mentioned last time, it is individual approach. It is individual nga mindset, individual idea. It is the idea that a culture should be understood and judged based on its own values and beliefs rather than comparing it to another culture. So, it means it encourages people to avoid making assumptions or passing judgment based sa imuhang kaugalingon nga culture. It is about fostering understanding and tolerance at the same time. Musabot ka ba, mo-acknowledge, mo-respect, so on and so forth. On the other hand, multiculturalism has the same thought, but it's just that ang nakalahi kay si multiculturalism is by group, societal approach or political approach that emphasizes the coexistence and equal recognition of multiple cultures within a single society. So it is a group of people living in a community that is promoting inclusivity by encouraging diverse cultural groups to maintain their tradition and contribute to a shared community. Okay? In simple terms, cultural relativism focuses on understanding each culture on its own terms, while multiculturalism focuses on creating harmony and respect among different cultures living together. Okay? Let's proceed sa uniculturalism or monoculturalism. Kung si multiculturalism na ay cultural relativism, si uniculturalism na po sa ethnocentrism. Okay? But, I just want to make it clear, di porket ang country kay unicultural, ang mga tao ana ka ethnocentric na. Dili na siya ing ana, okay? Unicultural again is societal or political approach. It is when only one dominant culture ra jud ang ilang gina-promote, ilang gina-maintain, ilang gina-practice. They are not open to any possible culture na ilang i-adapt or i-absorb. Okay? They emphasize homogeneity or universal ba or kuan lang usa lang ka culture lang gyud practice. They discourage the use of minor language or foreign language. They discourage the practice of diverse tradition that is not part sa ilahang cultural identity. Okay? It doesn't mean if ang country kay unicultural ka ethnocentric na, dili na yung ana. Because if moingon tag ethnocentrism, it means it is an individual attitude or belief where a person views their own culture as superior to others. Okay? Pwede siya, siguro ang politician or ang head anang country is ethnocentric. Ubos iyang tan-aw sa laing culture, maunang dili siya open to embrace or acknowledge diverse culture. Mao nang unicultural iyang gi-impose. Pwede say nga idea, but it doesn't mean that all the time all unicultural communities or countries are ethnocentric. Okay? I hope na klaro. Again, ethnocentrism, it is when a person views their own culture as superior to others. Imong i-judge ang sa ka-culture by comparing it to your own culture with a view in mind na imuha kay mas labaw. That's ethnocentric. Okay? Ang sa uniculturalism, since this is a societal approach, it disregards the idea nga babaw, superior ba, or inferior. It's just that para sa mga unicultural countries, mas dako o worth or kanang kwan gani, they give higher respect or ilahang ba, nako sila og respeto sa ilang kagalingon nga cultural identity. That's why they do not want to follow or absorb any foreign culture nga dili part sa ilaha. Okay? I hope it's clear. So let's proceed to the next topic. Now, I want you to access the link that you are seeing right now on the screen. This is a Google form. So, i-type lang ni siya. Pwede ra i-pause ang video para makatype pa mo aning nga link. Ato sa browser, i-search. Alright, so this is question number 1. What are the potential drawbacks of uniculturalism? If ang country is unicultural, what do you think are the negative impact or mga negative niya nga kuan ba result if ang country is unicultural? It is not open to any foreign cultures. What are the potential drawbacks of uniculturalism? To share your idea through the Google form, pwede ra i-shorten ang concept, i-bullet baron ang inyong pag-style sa pag-input. Okay, but let me add one for this question. The potential drawbacks of uniculturalism is that it lacks diversity. It means dili siya ingong it lacks variety ba. Walay differences maumaura tanan. Since the country is focusing on a single dominant culture, therefore ang mga tao is mamaura, ilahang culture, ilahang nga na-practice is the same. It lacks diversity. A focus on a single dominant culture, it may lack creativity, innovation, or any cross-pollination of ideas that often come from diverse perspectives. So malimit ang chance or opportunity for individuals to experience and appreciate other cultures. Okay? So aside from lack of diversity, what do you think are the potential drawbacks of uniculturalism? So state your answers sa Google form. Once you're done, you may go back kaning a link, aning of footage, and let's continue. Now let's have question number 2. How does uniculturalism affect minority groups? Patay, wala kaila unsay minority groups. It means mga gagmay-gagmay nga mga pundok or association ba sa homeowners, association sa mga barangay, association sa mga indigenous groups. Those are minority groups. O any mga gagmay nga pundok ba. Yan, that's minorities. Pundok pa ron sa LGBTQ, pundok pa ron sa mga OFW, those are minorities. Okay? What are the potential or how does uniculturalism man affect the minority groups? do you think? So let me add one for this question number two. So uniculturalism affects minority group siguro in a sense nga um, ang minority groups wala sila laing choice, wala sila laing option because they are in a monocultural or unicultural nga country. Therefore, they don't have the freedom or choice or what's the option ba? But instead, they need to adopt, they need to learn, they need to practice that unicultural nga culture na that culture na gina-practice anang unicultural country. To get the point, the exclusion of minority groups may lead to resentment or conflict because they need to follow, they need to practice kung unsa ang naa nga country. Kaya again, it lacks diversity. So they are forced or dili mo gipugos but wala sila choice pa. But they need to follow what is being practiced in the country because most of the time, I think their needs and voices are consistently ignored. Dili na siya gina-acknowledge. Kaya again, the country is unicultural. Make sense? That's question number two. So aside from that, what do you think are the other effects of uniculturalism ngadto sa mga minority groups? State your answer to the Google form link. Once you're done, let's proceed to this discussion. Let's proceed to the next part. Right. Sorry. This time, let's talk about acculturation. Acculturation is a process of adapting cultural traits from another culture. Imong gina-adapt ang certain aspect sa usa ka culture nga different sa imuha. It can occur voluntarily or involuntarily. So, pwede imuhang will or not. It often involves changes in language, customs, and social practices. Acculturation happens kung nakuan pa ni a culture like acquire imong gi-acquire ang usa ka lain nga culture. It happens when people from different cultures come into contact and start influencing each other. It's the process of learning and adopting some elements of another culture while imo gihapon gikeep while still keeping the parts of your own culture. Pareha atong ginabuhat sa mga OFW. Okay, if a Filipino moves to the United States, they might celebrate Thanksgiving, which is an American tradition, while at the same time, mag-practice gyapon sila sa Filipino traditions like magsimbang gabi during Christmas o mag-prepare o mga putahe nga pang Pinoy. So although wala na sila sa Philippines, ginabuhat gihapon nila ang certain aspect sa pagka-Pinoy. And at the same time, ni-adapt sila or ni-follow sila sa culture atong ilahang host nga country. Make sense? So acculturation is about blending and adapting to fit in to a new cultural environment without completely losing your own original identity. Right? Bottom line, acculturation is like imong gi-preserve 50% sa imong culture while at the same time ang 50% is imong gina-absorb, gina-follow ang foreign nga culture. That's acculturation. It doesn't mean imo nang gikalimtan ang imong kaugalingong culture. Okay? Since nakaisgot ta sa kanang OFW, I want you to answer question number 3. This is question number 3. Differentiate acculturation to diaspora. They are related man sa cultural interactions, ang acculturation ug ang diaspora. But what do you think is the difference or are the differences ani nilang duha ka term? If acculturation is a process where individuals or groups adopt elements of another culture, what do you think is diaspora. Unsa may ang kalainan? Unsay kalainan nila? Okay, so it's for you to find out what's the difference between the two. I hope you can utilize your resources, or if ganahan mo, you may read the module para na may guide what makes the two terms different from each other. So this is question number 3. Okay, so let's proceed to next part. Okay, let's skip that. This time, let's talk about assimilation. Kung si acculturation, it's about imong acquire, imong adopt ang foreign culture while at the same time imong gina-keep imong kaugalingong identity. See, assimilation is different. Assimilation is the process where individuals or groups adopt the culture of another group. It often involves losing aspects of the original culture, and it can lead to social integration but may also cause cultural loss. Okay? I'm not sure if you are familiar or if kailan mo ni Oli London. Oli London, I think, is the best example for assimilation. He is a British, I think, or English nga social influencer, a social media influencer. And then, a young case is that he is very into Koreans. Kung mag-addict siya sa Koreans ba. Labi na sa mga, um, I mean, it started actually with a female nga Korean. Ambot kinsa to nga kuan nga per kanang basta K-pop group to na pang babae, and then naa say gisuhid ato nga now mo ni idolize pa sa kasubran na pag-idolize kadugayan iyahan ang giusab iyang identity sa biologically male siya iyang ginhin og change iyang identity into female, and then iyaha pong gipa change ang iyahang noun into something close to Korean nga look, nga pangbabae. At the same time, iyang sinuotan, ay iyang nilihukan, iyang scenaryaan, gamay, manay kunirian, iyang balay, or so on and so forth. That is assimilation. Assimilation is when you acquire, you adopt, you follow a foreign culture different from yours, and then imong gihinay-hinay or imo na diyang completely ikalimtan ang imuhang kaugalingon nga culture. Okay? And then after ato ni Oli London ihang gikuan after sa female nga Korean identity, since nisikat man to ang BTS, so mao na po to ang next na iyang gibuhat. So ihang gitry og mimic si Jimin para dulduol daw sa laog now, even the way he moves, or kanang the way mulihok sa Jimin, posturya, iyang clothing, kaon, so on and so forth. Ihang gi-copy tanan. Mura sa nga naka kuan ba addict or pagka-fan na ihang gi usab iyahang now into something close ni Jimin bisag dili gud sig tan-awon nimo dili gyud siya pagkuan kay dako man sa mata. But still ang iyahang ginabuhat is an example of assimilating or assimilation wherein someone or like him blend so much into a new culture that they start thinking, they start acting, and they start living like the people in that culture. Mo to nagkinurian, napod siya, nagpa-as if siya as Korean. He identified himself as a Korean. And then, ihang gikalimtan, ihang kaugalingon nga culture. Okay? Magparehar po sa tuwa. Sauban sa tunga kaila siguro. If a Filipino moves to another country o nakasilingan niya ni abroad, they stop speaking Filipino, like filler na kayo ba? Porket nakagawas na nga, pakapaka na dahil English pagbalik sa ilang probensya. Murabeg unsay trabaho adto. Diba? Namoy kaila nga na. So if a Filipino moves to another country and stops speaking Filipino, ibalik nila kay magmuuna pud sila. Di na sila mukaon pinubre, kaon mga Pinoy nga pagkaon, nga mag English pa, napagapaka pa ang iyahang English. Kay lagi iyahang murag naidala lang paghambog nga gikan sa gilaing country ba mo na iyang ipanaw nga hingaani ko adto lugara ihang gi-assimilate, ihan na kuan jud kayo ang pagka-American, let's say pagka-American, bisag bistak og now. Okay? I hope you get the point. So if a Filipino moves to another country, let's have this as an example, and they stop speaking Filipino, they eat only the food of that specific country, let's say America, and then di na sila mo celebrate silang Filipino traditions. That is already assimilating. Unlike sa acculturation, which allows people to keep parts of their original culture, nagyapon ang imong pagka-Pinoy, but si assimilation, it means imo na gi-let go ang imuhang kagalingon nga culture just to fit in into the dominant culture where you are kung asa ka nagstay. Okay? That's assimilation. I hope you get the point kung saan kalainan sa duha. So let's have question number 4. So what are the potential benefits and drawbacks of assimilation? What do you think is ihang negative nga effect? At the same time, ihang benefits if you are doing assimilation. Unsa man. I para nako, I think it's not totally bad to assimilate a certain culture. Okay, let's just say I think ako na example last time. Let's say ni adto kag Saudi. Adto ka o kanang country which is total opposite sa imuha kawayang country. Example ang Saudi. Sa Saudi, you need to assimilate their culture wherein you need to let go some parts sa imong pagka-Pinoy. Kay it is part of their culture. Na if mogawas ka, you need to cover almost all parts sa imong lawas, especially if bae ka. You need to follow a certain clothing sa ilaha. Kay if imong dad-on o imong pagka-Pinoy ngadto sa Saudi, tiurok ka largo. You will not know what will happen, but for sure, it's negative. It's not a positive experience for you if you will bring your Filipino culture ngadto sa Saudi. So you need to assimilate. You need to forget or let go some parts of your or some parts sa imong pagka-Filipino and assimilate the culture of that host country. Lain sa tig mogawas ka nga kuan ka walay top and then ga-short lang sa mga lalaki. Mogawas ka ga-sando or ga-short, so on and so forth. That's very wrong. So you need to forget or let go of your Filipino culture, and then imong i-assimilate ang ilaha. Okay, that's the positive. And I think mi-add lang the negative for this one is kanang imuha ng makalimtan is like um the negative part sa kanang assimilation is over time sa sige natong assimilate sa bag-o nga culture or sa mga foreign nga culture, we tend to forget to acknowledge or we tend to forget sa na to pag-appreciate or pag-promote sa itong kaugalingong culture because para nato mo mag nahugod na kanang wala nay bili ba, wala nay value para nimo imong kaugalingon nga identity. It's because gina-follow na nimo ang lain. Mo na moingon sila nga tangkilikin natin ang sariling atin. That's what it is trying to promote. You need to learn or you need to love your own culture because that is your own identity. That is asa ka sa country. That is the identity, the cultural identity of the country where you're from. Okay? That's I think the one of the drawbacks or the negative side of assimilation. But naapod na siya benefits or naapod siya positive nga side. Okay? Aside sa kung mention, what do you think are the other potential benefits and drawbacks of assimilation? There's a lot, man, but I will not enumerate them all. So I'd like to know your ideas by typing it down ngadto sa Google form. This is question number 4, I think. Let me check. Okay, number 4. Okay, this is number 4. So we're done with the two terms. Let's have the last one, the very last term. We have inculturation. It is the process of learning one's own culture. Imong i-inculcate It involves the transmission of cultural norms and values. It begins at a young age through family and social interactions. Mao siya ang term nga i-inculcate. Familiar? Ay man ang inculcate no sa kuan ba? I think this is the kuan mag-ari nagikan nga term. Inculcate. When we say inculcate, it is when imo itudlo, imo i-instill usa ka certain attitude, idea, or knowledge ngadto sa laing tao. It's about transferring knowledge to someone. You're teaching someone about aning mga butang-butang. It begins at a young age through family and social interactions. This is the reason why as early as possible, ato na tutulan ang bata how to read, how to write, how to learn about the good manners, and to learn more about our religion. Okay? Enculturation is a process of learning and adopting the culture kung asa ka gipanganak, kung taga-asa ka. It happens naturally, like you will acquire, you will learn, makatunan ra nimo ang imuhang culture eventually as eventually sa kuan ka ng nagdako ka. Samtang gadako ka ba naa kay makatunan or ma-adopt nga culture, may it be consciously or unconsciously. Like sa kuan sa balay, wala ka gidirect o wala ka gidirect nga gitud-ulan sa imong mga ginikanan unsaon pag kuan pag pag-show og respect sa elders. Wala ka giingnan nga mo-bless ka dapat nila if iglakaw o igabot nimo sa balay. But na-practice nimo siya, nakatuon nimo siya because you observed it sa imong mga family members, sa imong family, sa imong igsuon, or sa mga parents themselves. Although wala ka directly gitud-ulan. Okay, that's one way of kanang learning about your culture na kung ano mo ba, na-acquire nimo since mao man ang imong na observe as you grow up. So through your family, community, school, and experiences. This is how you learn your language, traditions, values, and the norms of your society. Okay, for example, sa Philippines, balik ta sa pangikuan ganiha. The children learn to say po and opo to show respect to elders. So they also learn traditions like celebrating Simbang Gabi during Christmas or participating in fiestas. So, ang bottom line, enculturation helps people understand their identity and how to behave in their culture. Nakuha? In simple terms, enculturation is how you learn the culture you're born into. So from the people and from the environment kung asa ka. The environment around you. Like ma-acquire nimo or naa kay makatunan nga culture ngadto sa mga tao kauban mo kapuyo ug sa environment kung asa ka kapuyo. Okay? Even as you grow up, nasad ka makatunan mga culture sa citizen na kay ma-acquire. Culture sa inyong section na kay makatunan. Just bear in mind that acculturation is the process of learning one's own culture. Pwede siya direct or indirect. Okay? And next question. I think this is part. Yes, this is question number 5. Yes, question number 5. Ikaw, let me check. Okay, this is question number 5. What is culture shock? So I would like to, I will provide to you the definition of this culture shock. But what I want you to do, kung sa kung gusto na inyo i-input ngadto sa Google form is to provide an example kung naka-experience mo wherein you were culture shock. Recall a situation or experience wherein na culture shock mo. Mao ninyo ibutang sa question number 5. Okay? So, when we say culture shock, it is the feeling of disorientation, na disorient ka, or discomfort, or na shock, literally, na imo na experience when someone is suddenly exposed to a new and unfamiliar culture. So this typically happens when people move to a different country or region with different social norms, values, behaviors, and ways of life. Like for example, sa New York or nga nga parts nga countries, uh, every New Year, I think, mo kuha na sila kanang after sa countdown, ig New Year lagi. Ig New Year, it is normal for them na mukis ka lips to lips sa someone nga dili nimo ig-unsa wa ka kakaila siguro basta kauban nimo nga naka get together nimo sa time nga New Year, mukis ka lips to lips. Ikaw as a Filipino, very demure, very kuan kanang ingon na traditional but kanang kuan ka nga pagkatao ba decent and modest. Wala ka na anad na yung ana because sa tuang culture mukis lang ka sa tao nga naa ka romantic feelings o mukis ka nga do sa mga kaliwat sa mga igsoon not lips to lips ba sa acting ba or sa kuan if you're being affectionate that's the only time nga mukis ka but sa ilahang culture is dili. So if ikaw naka-witness ato nga ni di mo quiz sa imong tapad yawa ka ila so di nimo igunsa siyempre ma-disorient ka, ma-discomfort or ma-shock, ma-culture shock ka because you were not informed, you are not being oriented kana orient kung unsa na ibahan ilang culture. That's culture shock. Okay? Culture shock is different sa culture shock is somewhat um it is related to enculturation because enculturation is a process through which individuals learn and adopt the norms. And then um, it occurs when it occurs most of the time sa early age. But how about if mo transfer ka sa laing country? So you need as well to learn more about their culture. So culture shock is related to enculturation because when people experience culture shock, they are often encountering a cultural environment that is different from their own. So the prior enculturation, the set of values and behaviors na imong na-learn sa imong balay, mo-clash siya or mo-conflict siya sa new culture that will lead to discomfort of culture shock. Okay? So as individuals go through culture shock, they may need to undergo a process of reinculturation. So where they will learn to adopt the new cultural norms and adjust their own behavior to fit the new environment. Okay, so related na ni silang duha. Again, enculturation is the process of learning of one's own culture, while culture shock is the discomfort or confusion in one experience. They are related to each other because uh, culture shock often arises when one's prior enculturation clashes or the conflict with the norms and practices of a new culture. Make sense? So that's it. That's the end of our topic for finals. This time to continue to check your understanding and to check if naminaw, I want you to answer these questions. 5 ranis sa lakabok. This is questions 6 to 10. Your answers are either enculturation, assimilation, or acculturation. Wrong spelling, wrong. Okay, question number 6. A Filipino immigrant in the United States completely adopts American customs, stops speaking Filipino, and fully integrates into American culture. Is this acculturation, assimilation, or inculturation? Question number 7. or so situation number 7. Dili mo ni question di ay sorry. So, students in Philippine schools are taught to sing the national anthem and respect the flag, fostering patriotism from a young age. Students in Philippine schools are taught to sing the national anthem and respect the flag, fro- fostering patriotism from a young age. Is this inculturation, acculturation, or assimilation? Okay, next situation. A Filipino living in Canada celebrates Christmas with Filipino dishes like lechon and napud siya giad nga spaghetti. A Filipino living in Canada celebrates Christmas with Filipino dishes like lechon and also spaghetti. Next, an indigenous person moves to the city and stops practicing traditional rituals, instead adopting urban practices and lifestyle. So an indigenous person moves to the city and stops practicing traditional rituals, instead of adopting urban practices and lifestyles. Next question, last situation. A Korean immigrant in the Philippines starts eating Filipino dishes like adobo while still maintaining Korean food traditions at home. So a Korean immigrant in the Philippines starts eating Filipino dishes like adobo while still maintaining Korean food traditions at home. So this is the last part. I think, let me check sakto bang numbering. 10 na siya, 9, 8, 7, and 6 sakto. So, 10 items all in all. So, once you're done, kindly submit the form para naamoy attendance and participation. If you have any concerns or clarifications, chat lang ko sa messenger. Okay? So, I hope you learned something and